folks. I am here with my friend and colleague Tim Sharp, and I am enjoying a couple of days at a lovely place dubbed The Farm in Clarksville, Tennessee, north of Nashville, and have had a great time spending some time with Tim talking about church music.
Yeah.
And today we want to talk a little bit about the topic of, well, what happens in that first 100 days when you arrive at a new church and you're starting a new music ministry.
Exactly.
We thought that would be an interesting thing to explore. It's happened to us all. What can we do to start well?
Right.
Because you only get one chance at a first impression.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So if you have recently started at a new place, Madison Street United Methodist Church here in Clarksville.
Yeah.
I've started an interim at Oakland Baptist Church in Rock Hill, South Carolina. What are some thoughts about first 100 days in a new place?
You know, Doug, there's just something about that name, all right?
Thank you, Bill Gaither.
Exactly. And, you know, you want to know the names of everyone. And I want to start with the group that is kind of central to my work, which is choir. I do not go into the first rehearsal without knowing every name. Now, simple process. We have church directories. We have assistants. We have people that are already on our side that want us to succeed. They want nothing more than us to be successful.
Right.
So I find a way to get a picture of everyone, and then I go into that first rehearsal, and I will name Bill and Sally and Judy. I do not say altos. I say I like Melody and Melissa. I like for you. I mean, know their names.
Right.
Number one.
Right.
And then I extend that beyond my stakeholders, which are my choir. Those are my worship leaders. Those are the people that are with me all the time. But then I extend it beyond obvious staff. I mean, you're going to know your obvious colleague staff, but into the custodial staff, into the secretarial staff, administrative staff, the preschool program, that know those names.
Right.
There's nothing sweeter than a person hearing their name.
Right.
And also it says so much that you care, you've done the work. And I'll even slip this in. There's a little power game that goes. If you know me and I don't know you, that's a tough little balance there. So if I know Doug and Doug knows Tim, it elevates it immediately to another level of relationship. So something about that name. Learn their names first thing. I mean, right off the bat.
Right. And there's a lot of grace given, I think, in those early days, right? And you say, I'm so sorry, your name's on the tip of my tongue. Tell me your name again.
Right.
And of course, I'm always wanting kind of a mnemonic device of some sort.
Right.
Tell me, how long have you been here? Or something. If I can attach something to the name,
absolutely,
it helps me to remember.
When I did this with my all-state choirs or any choir that I was doing on a 3-day, I would always ask them, I want your name and tell me something I'll never forget about you. And of course, that is another level of just your personality, their personality, and it gives you an insight into that. So I say, so if important. Nothing else, the name.
I would add to that, ask the name, of the maintenance staff.
Absolutely.
Often overlooked in a church, the people who will eventually be helping you maybe move chairs out of the choir loft. You need to become friends with the maintenance staff.
Right.
And don't get off on the wrong foot with these folks who are essential workers, really, in our church ecosystems. Yeah. If I were going to be at a church for, say, 3 to 5 years in a more full-time capacity, one of the things I would do is find a way to get into every adult Sunday school class.
Great idea.
And you know, part of that is telling them a little bit about me, a little bit about my journey, what I love to do, what I hope to do in worship and music going forward. But again, I want to know something about them, something about their music and worship journey. You know, it may be as simple as, what are your favorite hymns? Something that people can remember.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, whatever that is important information for you as you begin to figure out how to read the landscape of that context, that congregation.
It's a great idea.
And you know, maybe there's something more I can do. You know, maybe I can help relieve a Sunday school teacher from the pressure of teaching just one Sunday. And, you know, maybe I have a Bible study, hymn study in my hip pocket. You know, three favorite psalms, three favorite hymns, and somehow connect those in a way that is meaningful and helps people know a little bit more about me and a little bit more about what I will bring to the table in terms of their faith formation.
And they want to know about you. I mean, this is an absolute hunger that they have. So you're filling a need, and you're doing what you want in connecting. But I'd say another layer of that, and I did it with my preschool families, is that I went to the preschool the day on a Tuesday morning, and I made sure that the preschool leaders brought the moms or dads in, and I did I want to show you the organ. So it wasn't just meet Tim Sharp.
Okay.
It's that Tim Sharp is related to this music program, and that, of course, I showed the magic of this pipe organ that we have, and I did it in a way that they'll never forget. But also, moms and dads were in there, so that extends your idea,
right?
Because these cells and these pockets of the church's influence, it goes on and on and on. So I mean, you have your ministries program, your urban ministries program, you have your athletic. Exactly. Get in, because you're going to be recruiting the rest of your life.
That's right.
So you really want to be accessible and them to know your heart and you to know them. So great idea. And again, first 100 days, right?
First 100 days, right.
Do it off the bat.
Right. One other thing that I would do, I'll admit I have not done this, but now at this stage of my life, I wish I had. And if I had a chance to do it again, first 100 days, I would ask, as I build a positive, productive relationship with a senior pastor, my boss,
right?
I would ask for a weekly meeting
with him.
For her, the first 100 days, the first 3 months.
Right.
After that, and this is apart from worship planning.
Right.
This is help me help you be successful.
Right.
This is help me understand this context, get me up to speed quickly. How can we work together going forward?
Right.
What are the good habits we're going to establish from day one in hopes of not driving the wagon into the ditch because we got crossways about something.
Right.
We just didn't really understand where each other are coming from.
Right.
This is such a critical relationship. Church musicians know this. Actually, my pastor friends know this. But sometimes we are not proactive in about setting ourselves up for success, and I think it's got to happen early.
Well, I did this with my pastor before this one that I'm working with. But what we did, a variation on that I like as well, is that I just accompanied. His name was Stephen. I accompanied Stephen to a pastoral visit. Or I would, in other words, he didn't have to set aside 30 minutes for me.
Right.
We did it on the
road.
Commute and on the road as I learned and appreciated the depth, of course, of what his work was. So it. And sometimes it even gave us the topic of what we were going to talk in that 30 minutes.
Right.
Why he's visiting this hospital on Tuesday. So.
All right.
But your point is great, because that relationship, that marriage, that makes or breaks you. So get it right off the bat.
Yeah. It reminds me of the great line from Stephen Covey's classic book. What is the line? Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Yeah.
And you may think, well, I'm not the boss. I'm not the one to initiate that. Well, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, why not? You are a professional. You're a minister. If the pastor doesn't suggest this, I think that would be welcomed. And again, early days, there's going to be a lot of forgiveness.
Right.
At least in the early days.
We'll play that new person card as long as we can.
As you can.
Well, I think too, moving into the administrative aspect of what we do, I like to signal in the first 100 days, I'm really not a type A person. I mean, I had to learn to be a type A person, meaning lists, write it down. If it can be spoken, write it down. I mean, so I show my choir, I show the administrators that I'm with that that I am organized, that this what I'm doing connects to something. And so, and a great way to do that is to put it in writing. I know we're in an age of digital, but I put it on the boards. I have a sheet that says, this is what we're working on tonight.
In the choral rehearsal.
In the choral rehearsal.
Yeah.
Going into a staff meeting, I'll have something, again, like you're saying, you're not trying to take over the agenda. All I'm trying to signal is, this isn't shooting from the hip.
No.
This comes from a budget consideration. This comes from a missional consideration. All this ties together. But here it is in writing. And so I say, I want to show I'm organized.
Right.
And so when I come to the rehearsal, and I'll add to this, my choir knows and my people know from day one, I'm going to be on time. I'm on time. I'm signaling in the first 100 days.
That's
I'm
right.
on time.
That's right. Someone taught me start on time, end on time.
Right.
And another colleague many years ago had a habit or a practice that I picked up on. He would begin every rehearsal. I think this was especially with youth choir. He would start, the first words out of his mouth were, "Thank you for being on time.
Yeah.
Let's go."
Let's go.
And you know, you do that long enough.
Yeah.
And even though people wander into rehearsal late, they still know, well, you know what? I know Tim's going to start on time.
On time, yeah.
And Tim is also going to respect my time by letting us out
Yeah,
at the expected time.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I do I set a pattern that is going to be, at this point in my career, I pretty well know what my pacing of rehearsals is going to be.
Sure.
So I set that pattern off the bat as a discipline.
Right.
And I share that discipline. But I think my point here is, write it down. If it can be said, it can be written down. Write it down. The schedule, the events that are coming out, even tonight's rehearsal. These are the things we're covering tonight. And if you want to go so far as to say, you know, to the point that this is what I'm covering in that, I know what I'm doing. And I mean, I've already thought that through.
Right.
Why not share it with him? Now, someone misses that rehearsal. Those notes are there next week to say, that's what we covered last week.
Right.
Boy, that says a lot.
That's
whether
nice.
Whether they look at it or not, it saves some things like, would you, and actually the rest of the choir is going, he did last week.
When you missed.
Yeah.
Probably just a tiny bit of shaming in there,
Well,
but not much.
And
Not
what I'm
much.
trying to say is, I am teaching the discipline that is me and saying, this is what you can expect from me. And I think that that really, back to my type A, that's not my nature, but I find that they need it within the discipline, and it just brings wonderful respect. They know I have thought through this thing.
Yeah. I think that matters. The idea that you respect them enough to prepare.
Yeah.
That this is an important enough thing that you prepared. Even if you are the paid Christian in the group.
The paid Christian, you're the hired gun.
I'm borrowing that.
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah.
In the first 100 days, I mean, your family's there. You're in a new place, and how does that work on the flip side for you? What are you doing in the first 100 days to say to my family, this is where we are, or this is the new routine? I mean, are you showing up for everything? Are you how is your life different in the first 100 days than it will be maybe the next year? I mean, are you you're going to Sunday school classes? I'm showing them the discipline I want. I've learned their names. What internally? What am I doing back at home in those first 100 days?
That's such a great question. And I think that really depends on the stage of life again.
Okay.
If you have children at home, elementary school, middle school, or high school, I think there's probably one approach to that. And if maybe you're empty nesters or you're single, of course, that probably looks a little different.
Yeah.
If you have children at your home, then you're obviously trying to help them get acclimated to new schools, new rhythms. So, we made a move in the last year. This new doctors.
Yes.
I mean, all the little things that you have to make happen. For some people, they're going to move into an apartment maybe before they move into a home.
Right.
There's transitional things that happen.
Right. So you're really burning the candle at both ends at this point. You're working hard at home. One of the things to that burning the candle at both ends, I know that I'm feeding more information to my family than I probably will be in a year. They are really curious. Like they want to know, do you like your new job? Are you being are you being invited to the lunch table with the other cool kids? I mean, they want to know, how is it going for me? So I tend to I want to give more information at home too.
Right.
To say, I had meetings, and this is what I did, and just flood my family with information.
But I hopefully I'm also have a sense of this. My awareness is heightened. Am I paying attention to how my family is doing in this transition? You know, you can't do everything for them, but are they making connections? You know, how the kids settling into school. I mean, that does require some attention on your part. So I think it is wise to not be completely consumed by the professional lane of life in that first 100 days, and recognize the personal, the familial is so incredibly important. So, I mean, just be aware, observe, pay attention.
Well, I think on the family end, and then I think too on the business end, you know that the church administrator is going to need your W-9. That you know you're going to be a salaried contract employee. You've got HR issues. You know that's going to happen. That's going to happen, and it's gotten more intense in the recent years about all the tracking of this and that and the other. So go ahead and assemble, get all that stuff together. You're going to be asked to make choices about insurance. You're going to be lots of questions are going to come your way that are brand new. You care about them. They care about them. Get all that assembly together again to show you're a professional. You do not want to make your church administrators wait on
documents.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
And so get all that together. You're probably going to have to go, before they hired you, they probably put you through several checks and background checks and so on. But I'm just trying to aid that process to say full disclosure, transparency. Here it is, and here are the documents. I mean, I try to be ahead of the game, particularly with the people that have to pay the bills.
Yeah. Again, know the name of the business administrator, maybe the bookkeeper, who is again so much behind the scenes. They don't get much glory for keeping those checks written.
They don't, and
your
interface with that person is largely going to be the church budget. So 100 days, you understand the budget, the line items. Understand it. I'm not saying necessarily question it yet, but just understand the processes, because that business part is something that we're going to be judged on professionally. Are we? Do we turn in receipt? How do you turn in receipts? How does this church do that?
Right. And if you're issued a church credit card, and the finance director or the bookkeeper says, okay, please send me your receipts, or and attach them to this form. Here's your credit card statement. Do it on time.
Yes.
They get so frustrated with staff who they're having to remind the second and third time. Will you please turn in your monthly credit card statement? Again, make a good first impression. Just everybody has to do it if you're issued a church credit card.
And I get very frustrated myself when somebody else is slowing me down from doing my job.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So my thought is be proactive and saying, how can I help you do your job? Well, your job is a lot about supporting me, frankly. But I want to know.
For sure.
I want to know the systems to say, how can I help you do your job? So when like your point about getting to know the custodial staff or anything, part of my question with them early on is, how can I help you do your job? I mean, because I know they're going to be helping me do my job, left and right. So and I'm so surprised at how often I realize no one's ever asked them anything like that. So be that person.
Right, absolutely. Well, let's summarize just briefly as we wrap it up. First 100 days. One chance to make a good first impression. Learn names.
Absolutely.
As many names as you can, and when you forget a name, just admit it and ask them to remind you.
Absolutely.
Visit adult Sunday school classes, maybe youth Sunday school classes, maybe children's, but you got to start somewhere. I think I would tend to start with adults and then work from there.
You'll get your act together. After the fourth visit, you'll be ready for the road show.
Right. Yeah. Request a weekly meeting with a senior pastor.
Exactly.
Get off to a good note.
Right.
Let's see. What else we talked about?
Signal your preparation. Show them that you're
prepared.
ready.
Regularly.
Make your discipline their discipline and show that you are disciplined.
Yeah. Anything else?
Learn the church systems. Just know the systems.
Know the systems.
And realize
protocols.
The ecosystem of it all. That is, my family is part of this. My business activity is a part of this. yes, my relationships at church are part, but all of those things in the first 100 days, I think you set that first impression idea, and I even beyond first impression, it signals this caring relationship. And I'll add one more thing, Doug, as a footnote, and I just had a flashback to it. Is just to remember that their legacy is now a part of your legacy. And that is the person that just left is a part of your history now.
Right.
So it's not, oh, it was them, and now you embrace them.
Right.
And I know sometimes maybe people that have left, it may have not been under great circumstances, but that's still now a part of your history.
That's right.
So I've always said those anthems that they did, or whatever, those great successes they had, that's a part of my story.
Absolutely. And I'll just add this just very briefly in this interim that I'm doing at Oakland Baptist Church in Rock Hill, South Carolina. There was a long tenured and beloved minister of music named Sheldon Timmerman. I'm going to forget how many, I think at Oakland for over 30 years. I discovered in the library an anthem that was commissioned for his 20th anniversary. Fill the Earth with Music. The text by our friend, the hymn text by our friend R.G. Huff. Music by Milburn Price. Commissioned for Sheldon's 20th anniversary. I ran across that. It's a lovely piece. I pulled it out. It's a great summer anthem. And I brought it to the choir and said, hey, I found this in your library. I see this is was written in honor of Sheldon's 20th. Let's sing it.
Perfect.
They're just loving it.
Perfect.
You know, it's an acknowledgement that good things happened before I got there.
Exactly right. And it part of your history. And I will say this about that. You'd only have to do that one time.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to do it over and over again.
Exactly right. Sometimes, though, we inherit programs that we might not have been ours, and they may have talked to you about that in the interview. Like, you're going to have to do this pageant on the thing. But I even for the grace of that, to say, look, that is their history.
Right.
You have time. You can transition things, but embrace it. So
absolutely. Well, this has been a great conversation. First 100 days. I hope we both get chances to apply some of these things in our own futures.
And that we have a second 100 days.
You're still there's that. That's a topic for another video. Thank you, Tim, for your time. Hey, folks, breathe, bless, and be well. See you soon.